Kate teams up with Roger Federer. William launches a passion project as the Duchess of York reveals her cancer battle.
This is a great opportunity for Sarah Ferguson to raise awareness. That's what she sort of said she wants to do here, is to encourage people to make sure that they go to those routine screenings. Keeping up with your health it is so easy to put off, isn't it? To just say, I'll go next week, but the next week never comes.
And Andy Cohen says Meghan Markle podcast rumors are fake.
That's an insane rumor.
Right, I know.
Her podcast is conversations with people. How would she not have? Of course she did.
Plus, PR expert David Johnson breaks down where Harry and Meghan go from here after being slammed by the press.
They're so overexposed that every time they open their mouth, people are no longer paying attention.
We've got that plus so much more on today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Christine, and lots of big royal news this week. Good and bad for Harry and Meghan.
There's so much going on. We really have like a whole spectrum of topics to get into today.
Definitely. So let's see what you guys had to say about last week's show. Barbara says Prince William represents the monarchy in an excellent manner, as does Princess Catherine, and having conversations with their children about the vulnerable people in our society deserves kudos. Yes, love that they talk to their kids about, some tough topics at a young age, which is so important. And also, tell everybody about it as well. So maybe that'll help other people have those conversations too.
Yeah, definitely. It sort of sets an example and also opens up a conversation for other people to have with their children.
Definitely. And then Viney Wilson says, Harry and Em are really a sad story. Their arrogance and overblown self-importance has really hurt them. A couple with so much promise to throw it away is very sad to me. Yeah, we're going to talk to David, who is a PR expert, a little bit later in the show to see how they can navigate, a lot of this bad press and hopefully turn it into a positive for the two of them.
Hopefully,
we'll see. And then CTACC says Harry and Meghan are great material for a Real Housewife franchise. I don't care about their podcast or whatever that was, but I would definitely watch this. Hair pulling, wigs flying, Meghan bossing around, and Harry following the trail. This is it. I mean, who knows? It could be in their future. Give it a few more years.
I mean, I always, you never know at this point. Wonders never cease with them.
So true. A lot of crazier things have happened. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, but let's switch gears for a little bit and get into our royal roundup. And a sad news coming out from the Duchess of York. She told People magazine that she has been diagnosed with breast cancer after a recent routine mammogram screening. Her spokesperson noted that she was advised she needed to undergo surgery, which has taken place successfully. The Duchess is receiving the best medical care, and her doctors have told her that the prognosis is good. She's now recuperating with her family. The Duchess wants to express her immense gratitude to all the medical staff who have supported her in recent days. Her rep noted that she was hugely thankful to the medical professionals, like we said, and she is otherwise symptom-free. She also opened up about it on her podcast as well, saying that her sister Jane actually encouraged her to get a routine screening, saying, it was after a bank holiday and I live in this area, in the Windsor area, and it was a hot day and I didn't feel like going to London. It's easy to put it off. I'll do it next week. My sister, who's wonderful from Australia, I always normally do what she says because she gets so cranky. She said, no, go. I need you to go. I need you to go. She added that Jane was ringing her up about something else and the conversation about the mammogram came up. And she said, thank you, Jane. I think it's so important you do talk about it. And she makes a really good point. So many people are like, this can never happen to me. I can do this again next week. I don't need to worry about something like that. Thank God she went, she got the screening and, hopefully it's a lesson for a lot of other people. Don't put off those appointments, as taxing as they may seem.
Absolutely. This is a great opportunity for Sarah Ferguson to raise awareness. That's what she sort of said she wants to do here, is to encourage people to make sure that they go to those routine screenings. Keeping up with your health it is so easy to put off, isn't it? To just say, I'll go next week, but the next week never comes. And I wish her, I think so many of us wish her all the best of health and sort of success in whatever route of treatment looks like. But again, for her to use her platform, not just to release a statement, but to follow up on her podcast in a very relatable way, saying, go, make sure you have these tests. It's so important.
So important. And glad to hear that the prognosis looks good. And like you said, we wish her well in her treatments. And I'm sure, she'll keep us posted on her podcast. But good news hopefully ahead for her. So that's great. All right. Well, the Prince of Wales and Ginger Spice, you know, we love a Royal Spice Girls mashup. They teamed up during the third stop of Prince William's tour promoting Homewards, which is his new initiative to combat homelessness, which we talked about a little bit last week. He went to 6 different tour stops throughout this week where he was shown, and he went to Manday Primary School, where they were shown the role that local schools can play in supporting children and families by intervening at the earliest point to prevent homelessness. Ginger Spice is also a big advocate of campaigns for women caught in domestic violence and wanted to be involved in Prince William's new project because she feels women are in, you know, challenging situations and they often find themselves homeless. So he toured, like I said, all 6 of the UK locations where the Homewards project is taking place. It's a 5-year plan led by his royal foundation, but the cause is something that he's championed, you know, throughout his life. His mother, Princess Diana, did as well. So we know that this is something that's hugely important to him. And I'm glad to see this 5-year plan kind of get into motion with the help of Ginger Spice.
Yeah, this is an incredible project. You know, this is to William what the Early Years campaign and the Early Years Foundation is to Kate. Mm-hmm. And it said that this is really going to be his life's work. And this project, the Homewards project, is 5 years just to set these projects into motion. So they sort of have a 5-year plan, and hopefully after 5 years, the project can sort of run itself in a sense and continue doing the work that they hope to set up in the next 5 years, which is to eventually, ideally, eradicate homelessness like they have done in Finland and so many other countries where it's been brought down to the absolute bare minimum. Right now, homelessness is a huge crisis within the UK. This is something so close to William's heart. And I think that when you really read through what this program aims to do, it sounds doable. And what Prince William's able to do is bring the right people together and give it the right sort of platform to succeed.
Yeah, hopefully, like you said, it's a 5-year plan just to get it into motion. So this is something that he's going to be doing for, you know, probably the rest of his life. This is like his mission, and it's definitely a great initiative to get behind, and something that's a crisis, you know, not only in the UK, in the US as well. So maybe, you know, it'll expand even more in the future. We'll have to wait and see. So
yeah, and again, it is 5 years to get it started. I think a lot of people think that he's planning to eradicate homelessness in 5 years, and it's just to really lay the foundations. But yeah, hopefully these projects are catching, and, you know, other countries can benefit from the research and the programs as well.
Definitely. Well, the Princess of Wales has also been very busy this week, and she's paid a special visit to Southampton to officially open Hope Street, which is a family-friendly residential community which will plot a new approach to supporting women in the justice system. It has been designed by a women's organization called One Small Thing. It is the first of its kind in the UK and is designed to transform women and children's experience of the justice system. I think this is really cool. It's a great way to get people informed and, you know, at an early age too about the justice system.
Well, this is such an interesting program. It's actually a residential reform program that prevents women being separated from their children where they would otherwise be incarcerated. So this is actually women and their children living in a very residential community. They have sort of community centers, but they also have their private space. I mean, it's like a halfway house almost between prison and living at home, which is an incredible program. And it ties so nicely into William's homelessness campaign because so many of these issues are interconnected. Mental health, incarceration, homelessness, all of these things tend to stem from what Kate, you know, works so heavily on, from early years experiences, but from the same sort of struggles, and then sort of have a knock-on effect where one creates another issue. And all of these issues are extremely complex. I don't mean to oversimplify them, but for Kate to be sort of stepping forward and, you know, bringing a spotlight to this new sort of justice system program, I think it was amazing.
Yeah, that really is. It's so important. And I love it, like you said, that they're all kind of tying together as well, which is really great too. Well, we love a Sporty Kate, and this was so much fun because she teamed up with Roger Federer for an impromptu tennis match ahead of Wimbledon, which is just around the corner. So in a YouTube video shared by the tennis competition, the Princess of Wales met with Roger on the field, and they were joined by local ball boys and girls who showed them a few tricks. Take a look.
Would you like to start or shall I start?
I think you should start, Roger.
Okay. Thank you.
She's got a mean serve over there. Love to see it.
This was such an amazing video. We all love Sporty Kate. Everyone loves Sporty Kate. And it was so much fun seeing her in this very casual environment. It's understood that she and Roger Federer are actually friends, which is why they sort of greet each other very casually. He's given private lessons to Prince George in the past. He was at Pippa Middleton's wedding. So this is like a long-standing relationship. But I absolutely loved the part where the ball girl, if you will, says, "Oh, great job." And Roger says, "No, she's not allowed to do that." When she catches the ball, the girl compliments her on the great catch. And the tennis pro is like, "That's illegal."
I love that so much. I loved it when she he let a ball go by and it went on the line. And, she scored a point against Roger Federer. I mean, pretty impressive, I have to say.
That's very impressive.
I love that. All right. Well, King Charles has been busy as well, and he is launching a new YouTube channel dedicated to the environment. As we know that this has been his life mission, and he's kind of putting it all together in this new RETV. It's his new platform for showcasing sustainable solutions to the climate and biodiversity crisis. He recruited some pretty A-list celebrities like Idris Elba, Olivia Colman, Woody Harrelson. And so this is the digital extension of his nonprofit, which is also called RETV, which he founded in 2020. So to celebrate the launch, they made a short TV film titled "The Speeches 50 Years of Speaking Up for the Planet." So featuring 19 actors like Idris and everybody that I mentioned, to quote some of the environment-focused speeches of King Charles. This was a really cool way to do this. So take a look at this.
Remember that our children and grandchildren will ask not what our generation said,
but what it did.
Let us give an answer then,
of which we can be proud. There is real hope, but we've just got to get our act together. And we've got to remember that the natural world is what sustains us.
I love this. It kind of weaved in and out of the actors, environmentalists, and then ended with King Charles. But yes, he's been championing this for 50 years. And it's nice that it's all going to be in one place that everybody can get all this information.
Yeah, I think that this is it's a great project. And if you look at the dates, this was definitely like a lockdown project for King Charles.
Right.
Some of us were baking banana bread. King Charles was creating this entire new sort of digital TV channel. But again, all these little, cogs in the wheel of these projects that they're all working on, they all kind of tie together. King Charles now has RETV, which ties in nicely with Prince William's Earthshot Awards. It's amazing to see the family working together.
Yes, it really is. Love it. Love to see it. All right. Well, as we know, the Royal Ascot also took place this week. It feels like forever ago, but it was within...
that was 100 years ago.
It was like 100 years ago. But it was happening late last week, and we know that they arrived in style. Kate, for her part, stunned. I love this look in a red dress and a matching fascinator, while Prince William opted for a black morning suit and top hat. They were joined by Princess Beatrice, her husband. They were also accompanied by many other members of the royal family, including, of course, King Charles, Queen Camilla, Duchess Sophie, Prince Edward, a lot of people. And, this marks the first time that we have a Royal Ascot since the death of Queen Elizabeth. And they set up actually an exhibit dedicated to Elizabeth at the racetrack to honor her love for attending the Royal Ascot and horse racing in general. We talked about this last week. This was Queen Elizabeth's favorite event of the year.
This was almost synonymous with Queen Elizabeth. So they had the most amazing exhibit set up in her memory. There was just so many touches of her, even though she's no longer with us, at Royal Ascot, because it was just synonymous with Queen Elizabeth.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
But seeing the Prince and Princess of Wales there was fantastic. As you say, Kate was in really eye-catching red. And she carried a vintage Hermes clutch, which I understand, rumor has it, that clutch was a gift from a horse trainer to Queen Elizabeth II that Kate has now down the line inherited. So just a really thoughtful time to wear it, really thoughtful place to carry that. But again, so many little touches and memories of the late Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II.
I love it so much. Seems like a great event. All right, well, let's spill some royalty. There's a lot of tea to spill this week. So I recently caught up.
Where do you want to start?
Like, seriously, we can be here for days. But we recently caught up with Andy Cohen, and he shut down the rumor that Meghan Markle did not speak with him or maybe other guests on her Archetypes podcast. So take a look. Meghan Markle said your conversation on her podcast was tough and that she had conflicting feelings about the housewives. And you wished she had said that to you. Will you invite her on Watch What Happens Live to further this conversation?
I would love for her to come on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah, have those invites been sent out?
I'm sure we've invited her. Yeah.
I'm sure. You know, there was this rumor going around that Meghan didn't conduct her own podcast interviews. I know that you sat down for an interview on the podcast. Did you actually speak with her?
Of course I did. And
Yeah.
she definitely did. And that's an insane rumor.
Right. I
Her
know.
podcast is conversations with people. How would she not have? Of course she did.
I know there was these rumors that they said that they edited, like a producer did the interviews and they edited her.
Absolutely not. And she was quite well researched and well informed and thoughtful.
There you have it. He said that she was well researched, well informed, and she did actually have a conversation with him. So, I mean, the rumors kind of go, they're kind of all over the place.
They go wild.
Yeah, but they have been getting some bad press this week. And, Prince Harry reportedly pitched Spotify a podcast concept in which he would interview the likes of Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, Mark Zuckerberg about their childhood traumas. So a source told Bloomberg that his far-fetched idea left executives at Spotify feeling a little bit puzzled. Harry also proposed interviewing Pope Francis about religion, floated a show centered around fatherhood and a series covering societal matters like climate change. The insider alleged that practicality of Harry's pitches struck some Spotify employees as questionable, considering the likes of these high-profile people rarely give interviews about their personal lives. So, as we know, none of those ideas were executed. Their $20 million plus deal with Spotify is now over, but it feels like they're just trying to throw things at the wall and see if something sticks.
Yeah, this has to be the idea that Bill Simmons said, get me drunk one day and I'll tell you this.
Right.
This has to be the idea that he mentioned in his podcast where he sort of calls them grifters and doesn't speak very highly of working with them. But yeah, this sort of ties into a lot of things that we've been hearing the last week. Like you said, they're just throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I think that everything with them, they're trying to make it really big and really grand and really flashy. And perhaps that's sort of where they're going wrong. I don't know.
I don't know either, but there was a scathing article in the Wall Street Journal about the two of them calling their Hollywood endeavor a flop, writing the graveyard of video projects they hope to make includes an animated children's show called Pearl. That was canceled by Netflix, as well as at least two TV ideas that the streaming service rejected within the past year. People familiar with Harry and Meghan's project said Netflix is unlikely to renew the couple's deal, which runs through 2025. So yeah, they weren't very nice in this article. They said
this was quite an unforgiving piece from the Wall Street Journal. I think the part that really went viral on Twitter was when it was revealed that Meghan invited Taylor Swift to be on the Archetypes podcast, and a representative for Taylor Swift denied in writing, saying scheduling conflicts or whatever sort of excuse they came up with. But yeah, Meghan Markle. Taylor Swift did not want to be on the Archetypes podcast. And it was just sort of all these silly little details that go towards this absolute dumpster fire of PR this week.
Yeah, no, they said the employees and associates said that the company that Archetypes Archwell often lacks direction, that they see that Meghan and Harry seemed surprised by the workload, and they were, so surprised at the amount of time it took from concept to finished product. It just, I don't know. I feel like if they just put their name on something that it's going to blow up, and that's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah, and that's definitely what we heard with Pearl, which was it sounded like such a great concept for a television show for children. But I think Meghan had thought, well, I'm putting my name on it, so it'll definitely be a huge success and it'll definitely hit, the streamers. And actually, that's not what happened. They felt like it wasn't going to pull the kind of appeal that she wanted. And this is probably a really interesting, really hard lesson.
Very hard lesson. Well, to get more insight in how they should handle the PR side of things going forward, we sat down with David E. Johnson. He is the CEO and founder of Strategic Vision PR Group. He has 20 years of experience in PR. He specializes in media relations, crisis, communications, branding, and reputation management. So he has this covered. So take a look. How do you think that they've been handling it from a PR perspective?
It's great to be on. They really have not been doing a good job whatsoever. I would give them an F.
Oh,
they really have a big hole to dig out of. The one good thing they're doing right now is they haven't opened up their mouth in the past 24 hours to say anything more damaging.
Yes.
lining. You know, one of the biggest stories of the last maybe 2 weeks or last few weeks is this Spotify deal. From in your experience, what makes a deal like this fall apart?
Well, really, a deal like this, I mean, is usually very easy to execute and complete. What it usually indicates to me is they overpromised and underdelivered, and they were difficult to deal with. And when I say difficult to deal with, I'm hearing from people that I've spoken to that they were very difficult with junior members of the Spotify team. They were very demanding, very rude. And that feedback, along with the part that they were not delivering on time, the public perception of the two of them was going down. Spotify decided it was better to exit now than later.
Yeah. And you know, Spotify executives or a Spotify executive came out and called them grifters. I mean, how damaging is that to their brand and to other brands being like, oh, maybe I don't want to work with somebody that's labeled that?
Oh, it's incredibly damaging. And it's actually reinforcing this negative perception that everyone has of them, that they are not, you know, on the up and up. They're opportunists. They're looking out for themselves, and they're just slamming the royal family and signing these deals for publicity. It's hurting to them. And if I was a Netflix executive, I would be terrified right now of the damage that they could do to my brand, the financial loss that we're going to take, and the disaster that could be happening.
One of the things that I think the greatest debate about Harry and Meghan is their connections, their relationship with the royal family. Either it's the only way for them to stay relevant, or they desperately need a rebrand to separate themselves from the royal family. What do you make of that? Is the royal family the only thing that's keeping them relevant and interesting, or is there hope for a sort of rebrand where they can stand on their own 4 feet?
It's what kept them interesting in the very beginning. Everybody was intrigued by the royal family. Everyone wanted to hear what they said, but they're saying the same thing over and over again. You can say it only so many times. I mean, here in the US, for example, many people are comparing them to the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, that they're just going to really fade away. What they need to do right now is rebrand. For the US market in particular, one of the things that is hurting both of them is they come across as very humorless and very selfish. And what I'm saying is one of the things that they could rebrand that would help them in the American market is they need to laugh at themselves a little bit.
Do you think that maybe their inner circle are maybe encouraging them to bridge that gap between the royal family? Because it feels like maybe at that point, if they come together and mend fences, that could help their brand. Because I think, you know, everybody likes a redemption story. So maybe this could be the first step in that.
I think everyone's on their inner circle, or anyone who's a PR professional would be advising it. Because as you said, everyone likes that forgiveness, that redemption, the prodigal son returning home. And it would be a great photo op, of course, and, you know, great media. The problem is, have they dug themselves into such a hole that they can't do it or feel they can't do it?
Sure. Do you think that it may be easier for Meghan to kind of rebrand herself, since she comes from a Hollywood background? She's an actress. She had this lifestyle blog called The Tig. Is that something that maybe she should lean into a little bit more, like relaunch The Tig, make it the new Goop, and maybe that's kind of the plan for her?
I think it is. I think the problem is right now, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think they're really caught. I would almost imagine there's a battle going on with their advisors on what to do. Do they relaunch Meghan? Do they relaunch Harry? Do they relaunch the two of them together? How do they do it? Because they know anything that they do, if it's done separately, we know the tabloid media will begin going after them. Is there a divorce pending? Are they breaking up? What's going to happen? That's going to occur. The other thing is, too, how do they approach it that they can reach their greater audience? Because if they do relaunch her, for example, they know that it's in the United States, for example, she's more radioactive than Harry is at this point. So who do they target with that? I mean, you mentioned Goop, for example. Well, we know that demographic, and that demographic, the female demographic in the US, the upper income, college educated, they're among some of her harshest critics at this point. Many of them echo what the Spotify chair said about them being grifters, and her particularly. So that's an issue as well. Who are they targeting in their rebranding campaign, and how do they do it, and how do they try to dispel some of the rumors that will be swirling around them?
What on earth would you, what would you advise them? How do you salvage this?
First advice would be to take a step back. Yeah. Number one, do some charity work, low-key charity work, begin showing a sense of humor, get away from the Hollywood lifestyle. I think that's hurt them quite a bit. They've been complaining nonstop that they want to be left alone, and then they appear everywhere on all the red carpets. Take a step back. Go and visit some orphanages. Do some charity work. Take a break. I would advise them to take probably about a 6 to 12-month break from major public appearances. Then when they come back, they need to reintroduce themselves. I would advise them as well to try to reconcile their differences during this break with the royal family. And then when they come back, I would recommend one key interview for them. And I would not advise Oprah. I would actually advise someone who's a critic of theirs. Because that's, of course, going to be a harder interview for them. But more people will tune in just because of the dynamic. And then I would advise them to reintroduce the two of them and let them announce how they're reconciled with the royal family, but also how they're moving forward in a more positive manner, how they want to give back rather than appear they want to take everything. Because that's one of the problems that's been hurting them as well. In the States, for example, they complain about they didn't get a big enough allowance or they were cut off. Most people do not, in this day and age, feel sorry about that. So that's hurt them. I think they need to show a little humble pie. The other thing that I would advise them to do too is apologize for some of their actions. It's going to hurt, but we said people like a redemption story. They like a comeback and apologize. We made some mistakes. We're wrong. We're young. We were going through things. We perhaps shouldn't have aired everything that we did, but we're ready to move on now. And this is our next chapter.
David, let's hope they listen and take your advice because they tune in. Seriously, hopefully they're tuning in because that is some great advice. And I agree. I think the 6 to probably 12-month break make us miss you. We want to see what you guys have to say.
I mean, they overexposed themselves. Harry, particularly with his book tour, really overexposed himself. And some of the things that he voiced in the book as well was a little too much for most people. And that's the other thing that it's almost like when you're riding on the highway and you see a billboard so many times, you begin to zone it out. Right. That's hurt them as well. They're so overexposed that every time they open their mouth, people are no longer paying attention.
It will definitely be interesting to see where they go from here. But let's stop talking about Harry and Meghan for a minute and get onto our royal history moment of the week, because Princess Diana's iconic sheep sweater will soon be available for sale, as it was just, discovered in storage 40 years later. Sotheby's announced the unusual news that the late Princess of Wales red sweater, which of course, the black sheep sweater, will go up for auction in August. They said that the fashion designers actually found this when they stumbled upon it in their attic, saying, I was in the attic in February searching for a pattern, and I just happened to notice this old wine box in the corner, and there was a red sheep jumper wrapped up in cotton bedspread. It was well preserved, and I had kind of a Groundhog Day moment and thought, could this be the one? I looked at the cuff, which had obviously been sewn back on, and I called Sal and said, I think I found the actual real Diana jumper, because apparently the original one got damaged. They sent her a new one, and this was the actual original one that she wore. They're saying that it could estimate between $50,000 and $80,000 up at auction. So start saving your money. I
absolutely love this story. I want to know, has it been washed?
Yes.
Did they ever wash it? Does that make it more valuable? Probably. This is a really, really fun story. That jumper has really been having like a renaissance lately with sort of it being re-released. It was, a huge part in it was filmed in The Crown. So I can't wait to see the absurd amount of money that someone pays for this iconic sheep jumper.
It's going to be a lot. I can't wait. All right. Well, finally, moving on to our pint-sized palace. Prince George appears to following in his dad's footsteps. He was seen touring Eton College in Windsor. And he was there with his mom and his dad, and they were talking to two members of the staff at the school, which William began attending in 1995, brother Prince Harry in 1998. Although Ian only accepts boys from the age of 13, George will celebrate his 10th birthday, oh my God, next month. So maybe they're kind of getting him used to the school early, but it seems like he may be following in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, this was such an interesting thing. You know, he was just sort of, it's a very busy campus, especially this time of year. So they were spotted by, you know, members of the public. Eton is obviously highly competitive. So you have to register interest the summer that you turn, before you turn 10, to start admissions when the year that you turn 13. So this is definitely the time that he would be registering interest. But I think they're sort of throwing his hat in the ring, maybe exploring other schools, touring Marlborough, touring some of the other really, really prestigious schools throughout the UK. But this was definitely, I mean, how has he gotten so old? There's no way.
I know. And something tells me he'll get in. They're not going to turn him away. All right. We'll have to wait and see what happens. A few more years to go. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Royally Us. Keep commenting, keep subscribing. We know you guys got a lot to say, so keep it coming, and we'll see you guys next week. For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.